Hi, I'm Pam and I'm here to talk about retro video games. I finally did it. I played my first Metroid game. Today, I'm talking about Super Metroid. Super Metroid was developed by Nintendo R&D 1 and released on the Super Nintendo in 1994. It's a platform adventure game. It uses the conventions of a typical side-scrolling platformer while also putting a heavy emphasis on the exploration of a large continuous map and finding equipment or abilities that will allow you to access new areas. While the term Metroidvania didn't exist at the time Super Metroid released, it would become the standard name for the genre starting in the early 2000s. You play bounty hunter Samus Aran in a story that continues from the first two games in the series. Previously on Metroid. On orders from the Galactic Federation, Samus goes to the planet Ceres to fight the space pirates, who are trying to use a parasitic species called Metroids as a biological weapon. She defeats the space pirates and their biomechanical leader, Mother Brain. The Galactic Federation decides the Metroid species is too dangerous to exist and sends Samus to their homeworld to do some genocide. She does the genocide real good, and when the last remaining Metroid baby hatches and bonds with her, she takes it away from its home and leaves it at Ceres' research station for study. As Super Metroid opens, Samus receives a distress signal from Ceres and goes to investigate. Let's start with the good stuff, and there is a lot of good stuff. The opening of Super Metroid is excellent. I get to the research station and it's eerily lifeless. The scientists are dead, the tanks that once held their research, broken. I find the baby Metroid alone in a room, at least I thought it was alone. But then Ridley appears and attacks. The small amount of health I have is dropping fast. I haven't had to shoot anything yet, or had a chance to get used to the controls, and all of a sudden, I'm in a boss fight. I'm very concerned that I'm about to die before the game's even really started. But Ridley leaves with the Metroid before he can deplete my health fully. We're not out of danger yet though, as alarms start blaring and a 1-minute countdown appears. The station is about to be destroyed. My heart is thumping as I make my way back to the ship, watching the timer tick down out of the corner of my eye the whole time. I make it out in time and a cutscene shows Samus escaping as the station explodes behind her. This is how you start a game. After this initial rush, we head to the planet Ceres and try to get the Metroid back, and things settle into a more comfortable rhythm of exploration and isolation. Which brings us to another thing Metroid does very well. It's got great atmosphere. It's incredibly lonely, and everything is just so alien. When I first read that Ridley's enemies were space pirates, I pictured human pirates. In space. But no, when Ridley shows up, he's this weird pterodactyl-like creature, which is so much cooler. The enemy designs are great, and all really fitting of the environments you find them in. Those same environments are extremely hostile to you. As you descend deeper into the planet, every screen reinforces that you are not welcome in this place. The closest thing you see to a friendly face, some source of comfort amongst the isolation, are the Chozo. They appear in secluded dead ends, holding up orbs, seemingly making offerings to you. But the Chozo are long gone, and the helpful forms you come across are just statues. They offer you power by way of new abilities, but there is no comfort here. The soundtrack drives this home as well. While you're on the planet's surface, the music is rather epic. There are trumpets and booming percussion, it sounds adventurous and even triumphant, though your journey is just beginning. But as you advance into the caverns of Criteria, that music turns alien and disorienting. By the time you get to Meridia, you'll be accompanied by tracks that sound both creepy and melancholy. As unsympathetic as the environment is to you, other aspects of the game design do a great job of making the player feel increasingly more powerful. In the beginning, Samus is quite weak. She has a paltry 99 health and a pea shooter of an arm cannon. You'd think that this accomplished bounty hunter would be better equipped, but that would rob us of the joy of character progression. It's very satisfying to get a new ability like the morphing ball or the grappling beam and think, hey, I remember seeing somewhere I could use this. It makes backtracking to that spot more enjoyable than it should be, because you know you're going to find something new and good there. By the end of the game, you feel unstoppable, as you can go anywhere you need to, with a combination of shrinking down to fit in tight passages, jumping endlessly with space jump, or just good old-fashioned power bombs to clear away the block standing in your way. I also really like that most of your primary weapon upgrades stack. You don't have to choose between one shot that freezes enemies in place, one that has a wider spread, or one that can be charged up to hit harder. You can have all those things at once. Super Metroid constantly rewards you for exploring. Though there's a limit to the unique upgrades and abilities you can find, there are tons of items that increase your missile and bomb inventory or give you more energy tanks with which to increase your overall health. I was also happy with the overall difficulty of the game. Though there are lots of enemies and each area has at least one boss fight, it's really more about exploration than difficult, precision-heavy combat. Health and item restoring pickups are abundant, and I rarely found any fight difficult enough that it became frustrating. I'm also a big fan of the map and how detailed it is. Having computers in each area that gave you map data is a great way to let you know about places that are hidden while still letting you figure out exactly how to access them yourself. With all that said, Super Metroid is not without its problems. Let's talk about some of those now. You know how I said that combat was rarely frustrating? Well, there was an exception to that. Ridley. When I ran into him the second time, I felt like I had hit a brick wall. I must have given it 20 attempts before I resigned myself to exploring more to get extra energy tanks and super missiles. The most frustrating thing about it was that I had no idea how close I was getting. With no boss health bar, I didn't know if I almost had him or was still a ways from victory. No health bars also made it difficult to discern which of my weapons was the strongest. I had played the game assuming that super missiles were my most powerful shot, since they were limited in number and had super in the name. But apparently, charge shots are better? Not very intuitive. The tutorialization, how the game teaches you how to play, is inconsistent and at times inadequate. Missiles have an obvious purpose, and the game tells you how to use them. It tells you again every single time you pick up a missile tank to expand your capacity. I probably saw this instruction 40 times over the course of the game. But when you get Morphing Ball or Space Jump, two abilities which as a newcomer to the series are not as obvious, there's nothing. You have to check the manual if you want to know how to activate these. There are also a number of abilities like Wall Jump, Crystal Flash, Shine Spark, and various charge combos that I would never have known about if I hadn't read about them online. There are some little critters that demonstrate two of these abilities in the game, but the areas where this happens are off the critical path. If I hadn't had to backtrack to power up for the Ridley fight, I wouldn't have seen them at all. Why put abilities in a game and not bother to let the player know they're there? The biggest problem with Super Metroid, though, is the controls. They're not the worst, but they're not very good. When jumping or doing any kind of precision platforming, it always seemed like the controls were fighting against me. Samus feels floaty and imprecise, especially when trying to make smaller jumps. The poor controls are exacerbated when using any movement-enhancing abilities. The grappling beam is just a nightmare. The momentum from it doesn't make sense. For me, the time between getting the grapple beam and getting space jump was the least enjoyable section of the game by far. But I'm not letting space jump off the hook either. The timing of it is odd, and it's immensely sensitive to other inputs. After your first jump, you have to wait until you're starting to fall back down before you can jump again, rather than doing it at the height of the jump. You can also only do a space jump if you're moving horizontally when you start jumping, rather than be able to jump straight up when standing still. Plus, if you hit the up or down buttons while trying to change direction during space jump, you'll cancel it. There is little more exasperating than watching Samus helplessly fall down a long corridor because you grazed the up button or hit jump a split second too soon. I could space jump horizontally indefinitely, but going vertically always felt dicey. My last control complaint is about the items and how you use them. Missiles, bombs, and grapple are all activated using the fire button. This means when you have them selected, you can't shoot your main weapon. The selected item needs to be cancelled using Y to go back to your beam weapon. On boss fights, where I might want to switch between shooting missiles at the boss and normal beams at adds, it was very cumbersome. This problem is particularly annoying because there is such an easy alternative that would have improved things. Rather than have a cancel button to clear whatever item you have selected, why not have both a primary fire and a secondary fire? Then you could switch between your beam and missiles or even the grapple seamlessly. There is a fifth item, an X-ray scope, which allows you to see hidden passages and obstacles. This is used with the dash button rather than the fire button like everything else. Why? This is a late game pickup and mostly used to find secret areas and power-ups that you've missed in areas you've already visited. Why prevent the player from running while searching for secrets? Of course, you can cancel the X-ray scope, but then you need to press select 5 times every time you want to get back to it. The X-ray is useful because there are so many hidden passages and secrets, but the act of using it kills any momentum you have going. Just to end things on a positive note, I do like that you can remap the buttons in the menu, though that doesn't fix any of the issues I brought up here. I also like that the L and R buttons can be used to make Samus aim diagonally up or down or straight up in the air. It makes her very adaptable during fights. So how was my first Metroid experience? It was good. Super Metroid really excels at atmosphere, character progression, and level design. I also loved that there was a great map to uncover. But in terms of how it controls, it could be a lot better. A lot of the decisions made on how to control Samus were puzzling to me, and it seemed like there were obvious better alternatives. With a few improvements here, this game could have become a favorite. Okay, one last thing. Why do Samus's clothes fall off when she dies? Nintendo, why are you so obsessed with this woman's underwear? If you want to see another first impression of a popular series, check out my review of Mega Man 2, or another of my videos. I also have a Patreon if you want to support the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.